What's going on, everybody, and welcome to PSGL PSF2. This is round one here in Australia, Melbourne. I am just going to jump into a party because I forgot about that, because I am solo. And then I'm just going to turn the audio back up. It was just to avoid any copyright strikes whilst we were waiting for the lobby to start. So there we go, we are back for season 41, what should be a very interesting season. Some familiar names on the track, especially from last season, but a few missing names that there were a few fan favourites by the end of the season. They will be obviously racing in a new division, but we are back for F2. Which should get very spicy right from the opener here in Albert Park. So Kevin Zonnebjerg in the Red Bull is the first driver out on track. And just whilst we're doing this, I'm just going to do a quick audio check. So, Kevin Zonnebjerg and TF10 Sam are the first two drivers out on track, and then we have IRT Nick as well. So, esports teams being well represented here in round one, and a few drivers, that is Wessel in the Haas. And TRT Zane, as you remember, he drove for the Ferrari last season. He is now in that orange of the McLaren. Kevin Zonnebjerg in the Red Bull, but he's got that very racy bull right behind him, trying to overtake him before the start of his flying lap. So the driver's not waiting around for anybody here. So just under 16 minutes of qualifying to go, and we are about to go qualifying. Kevin Zonnebjerg is going to get us underway for the opener here in round one in Melbourne, Australia, here at Albert Park. Kevin Zonnebjerg down towards turn one we go. And through turn 1 and 2, nice and tight to the apex, and then using that outside line back onto the battery. DRS wide open for the Red Bull driver as we go down in towards turn 3 at Whiteford, and then around the left-hander at turn 4. You've just got to ease off the throttle and keep it valid, and that is absolutely on the limit for the Red Bull driver as we head down into the marina at turn 6. And remember, this part of the circuit is now changed from what it used to be, and that DRS will kick in, and a lot more overtaking than what we used to see around this circuit. As you can see, he saved a bit of his battery as we go in towards turn 9 and 10. The left and right hander keeps it valid, and that was brilliant stuff from Kevin Zonnebjerg, and that is how you take sector 2 to sector 3. As we head in towards turn 12 for the Red Bull driver. And we are talking, when we are riding on board with these drivers, we are talking millimetres is the distance between invalidating and validating. Down towards the line we go, and Kevin Zonnebjerg a 1:14.8. So a couple of other drivers coming to the line, and one of them will be a Williams on an outlap, but it's TF10 Sam, a 1:15.2 in that kick Sauber. And that was a driver just on an outlap. We do have an Aston Martin coming next, and that is Mattia Manga, who is starting his lap. So let me just get the lap data up. So Mattia Manga on an outlap, and then that McLaren of TRT Zane, a 1:15.5 for the Papaya. So he is into P5. VNT Luca comes to the line, and then IRT Ivan in the McLaren, his teammate, in P5 and P6, and then IRT Boom in P6 now. F1 Snack in the Williams. Snacks. I think it's Snacks. Brian Amers A driver from last season goes up to P3 at 1:15.1. I cannot believe how good Kevin Zonnebjerg has opened this qualifying. A 1:14.8 is quite remarkable. Benjamin in the Alpine goes up to P3, but VNT Luca still that safety net to Kevin Zonnebjerg. Mattia Manga in the Aston Martin, just coming around turn 14, down towards the line for the Aston Martin driver. It's going to be in the 15s, and it's P9 with a 1:15.3. Ticcio in the Ferrari is also on a lap. IRTC was invalidated it. Diogo Silva in the Red Bull goes purple sector 1, but it is Ban in the Alpine, also trying to set a lap. But Ticcio in the Ferrari is going to get a little bit. Oh, he goes into the pit lane. And still IRT Nick and Thiago yet to set a lap time. And TF10 Lucas, Diogo Silva. Ben is into the pit lane. So Diogo Silva will be next in that Red Bull as he slips and he slides around turn 12. At Prost, and then down towards the line. He may as well get that banker on the board, but my goodness me, that was sketchy from the Portuguese driver. TF10 absolutely Adam. So Diogo Silva, Mattia Manga up to P9, all the other drivers in the pit lane. White Sheep in the white car, just starting his lap. Down towards turn 1 we go, and you can see they use every inch of the circuit. So White Sheep around turn 3 at Whiteford, around turn 4 at the left-hander, back onto the throttle, just using that battery. Doesn't want to use it through the corners though. And in towards the Marina at turn 6 and 7. Purple, sector 1. TF10 Sam has retired. IRT Boom has retired. What is going on? Everybody's retiring. Something's gone on here. So the drivers, we are having a restart due to the weather conditions. So we are just restarting this qualifying session, guys. We do apologise about the delay. We'll be back with you very shortly. Bear with us, guys. We will be back shortly for the racing. The lobby is restarting for qualifying, so we will be back in no time at all. We are just waiting for the drivers to retire so we can get it all cleared up. The weather should have been on at midday. It wasn't, and that's the reason for the delay and the restart. So that is all the drivers that have retired. And I'm not sure what the situation is here, if we're going to use the same lobby or a new lobby. So just bear with us, guys. Don't go anywhere. The racing is about to get intense. And we are going to go battling between some of the best console drivers in the world. So do not go anywhere. So the drivers will just retire, and it is carnage. So we are about to restart and get back underway. If you're just tuning in, just bear with us, guys. The qualifying session is restarting. Just turning that down to avoid any copyright strikes. So we are going to go back into qualifying shortly. We've just got to wait for the settings to be updated, and then we can go again. But do not go anywhere, guys. The racing is going to be phenomenal. I can feel it. Australia is such an awesome circuit to race around, and we are going straight back into it. Can Kevin Zunneberg produce the lap that he produced in the previous qualifying session? If he can, he was pretty much untouchable with that first lap in the 1:14.8. Not a single other driver managed to get into the 1:14s before the restart, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do here again. So we are back here in round 1 for PSGL here in F2, and I will turn the audio back on. So who will be first out again? Will it be Kevin Zonnebjerg? Remember guys, do not forget your setups. To the drivers, do not forget your setups, because the last thing you want to do is start racing with a standard setup. What's going on, Wards? How are we doing? So all the drivers are in the pit lane. We see a bit of movement, and I think that is Kevin Zonnebjerg in the Red Bull. And once again, he is the first driver out on track. Can he replicate the successes of the previous qualifying session? So Kevin Zonnebjerg is going to get a bit more of the spotlight here. And the Oracle Red Bull driver just taking his time, and I think it's the Sauber again. It is TF10. It is literally deja vu. C8 Lou in the Aston Martin, and then Benjamin. You've got IRT Nick in the V-Carb. You've got IRT Boom in the other Racing Bull, and then TRT Zane in the McLaren. But it will be Kevin Zonnebjerg that will get us underway. I think the Sauber of TF10 Sam is trying to chase him down. Does he want a bit of the limelight on him? We shall see. So Kevin Zonnebjerg, as the Sauber just creates a little bit of space behind for his flying lap, and this will just be that banker. Yellow flags waving. There's a lot of cars coming through sector 2 to sector 3 now, but we are on board with Kevin Zonnebjerg once again here in round 1 at Albert Park, down towards turn 1 for the Red Bull driver. Over the apex he goes to the left hand side, and then he'll use the curb to the right. He's got a little bit of slipstream this time though, a little bit of a helping hand, and that was close as we go down in towards Whiteford at turn 3. Back onto the throttle to the left hander, eases off, back on, and then just burns that little bit of battery to build the speed back up as we head in towards the marina at turn 6. Kevin Zonnebjerg, I feel like he's put in the practice for round 1, because he looks so comfortable, so confident with the car, very Max Verstappen-esque. He's got such a sharp front end, and he can just dive into these chicanes as we go in towards turn 9 and 10. The Red Bull driver keeps it valid, and they are millimetres between invalidating and not doing so. Kevin Zonnebjerg down in towards turn 11, back onto the throttle, burns the rest of that battery that he has, emptying the tank, and then around turn 12 in towards centre at turn 13. He will come around the final corner at turn 14, back onto the throttle, he'll empty the tank, the rear wing will open, that extra bit of pace to the line. It's a 1:14.7 from Kevin Zonnebjerg, even quicker than the first time around. That is how you make a statement at the start of PSF2. Benjamin in the Alpine goes P2, C8 Lou in the Aston Martin takes that P3 away, is IRT Nick, then IRT Boom, the Racing Bull takes it right back out the hands of his teammate. TRT Zane in the McLaren is up to P6. We've got a few drivers coming up towards the line now, and that is Wessel in the Haas, and he, the Belgium driver, goes up to P2, but then it's taken off him by Ticho, the only other driver yet to reach the 1:14s, and the Ferrari man is in to P2. So Ivan in the McLaren, and that is White Sheep at 1:14.9 as well in the Haas, and he is now provisional front row. Brian Amers in P9 in the Mercedes, Thiago in P10, And then that was another driver just coming towards the line. IRT Sieb in the Mercedes. The Dutchman goes P5. We do have a couple more drivers coming to the line. Lucas, the German, has pulled over. TF10 Sam is back into the pit lane. Ben in the Alpine is also on the lap. He's getting a little bit of a slipstream from the McLaren. Here comes Mattia Manga in the Aston Martin. The Italian driver will be next. Can he get in to the 114s? Let's see. For the Aston Martin driver down to the line, it's not. It's a 115.6, and Mattia Manga is going to have to find something extra special. He is not cooking whatsoever at the moment in the kitchen here in Albert Park. VNT Luca in the kick Sauber slips the back end, and back into the pit lane he goes. What about Ben in the Alpine? Can the British driver, only one of two British drivers, and into the pit lane on the grid this evening, Diogo Silva, the Portuguese in the Red Bull, has invalidated it, and it's a 1:17.1 for him. But my goodness me, what a start to this qualifying session. Kevin Zonnebjerg in a league of his own at the start once more. All the other drivers just filtering back into the pit. Mattia Manga is also on an in-lap. Is anybody else going to come out for another run? Kevin Zonnebjerg. My goodness. That is phenomenal. Brilliant words. I will bear that in mind. Thank you. So every single driver in the pit lane. Remember, guys, a big shout out to our sponsors, Sim Racing Setups. If you are looking for the perfect race setup for Formula 1, for any other Assetto Corsa, iRacing, you name it, they do it. Just use the code PSGL for 5% off on checkout. They are incredible in terms of setups. So yeah, big shout out to them. So TF10 Lucas in the Williams is on the way out. TF10 Sam in the Sauber. No, no Woods. As long as you've got Lebanese flag next to your name, even if you've not, we've cleared it up. Don't worry. F1 Snacks will be the next driver. Is it Snacks? We'll go Snacks. F1 Snacks, because they got an X there. The German driver will be next for F1 Snacks. So around turn 12 we go. And we have 3 different constructors at the moment in the top 3. Can F1 Snacks and the Williams puncture a hole in them 114? So down towards turn 1. Over the apex, and a little bit of traffic in front of him. That is a Mercedes and a Haas. They move over to the right hand side. They're not going to help this Williams driver out at all as we go down in towards turn 3. Nice and tight to the apex. Back onto the throttle to the left hander. Not using as much exit as Kevin Zonnebjerg did, but really nice and neat through there for the Williams. Down in towards the Marina at turn 6. Back onto the throttle. He'll burn that battery before he gets the DRS. Yellow flags. That'll be drivers moving out of the way. We are all the way down now. Pedal to the metal for F1 Snacks in the Williams. Down in towards turn 9 and 10. The left and right handed, they come at you so quickly. If you've ever been to Albert Park and watched that section of the circuit, it is incredible. Down towards turn 11. And F1 Snacks is putting in a pretty decent lap. A slight mistake there would have cost him in towards turn 13. You need to get this right. To the right hander, back onto the throttle. He'll empty the tank. The rear wing is wide open, and it is going to be a 1:14.919, and it is provisional front row. And TF10 Sam has taken it out of the hands of the Williams. He's gone up to P2 in that kick Sauber, and very, very close to Kevin Zonnebjerg. It's Red Bull, Sauber, Williams, Haas, Ferrari. So Ben in the Alpine has invalidated it once again. VNT Luca, the only other driver not to set a lap time. TRT Zane is slightly up. He's slightly improving and he goes up to P14. Then we have a Mercedes of IRTC just starting his lap. A couple of McLarens. That is IRT. Ivan, who is slightly down on his lap time. I don't think he's going to improve. Can he get a good sector 3? He does. And he's nearly 2 temps up and up to P10, a 1:15.2 for the Papaya. And Aston Martin will be next. Mattia Manga is also on a lap, just started his lap. Diogo Silva in the Red Bull. We do have Kick Saubers helping each other out. No, it's not. VNT Lucas backed out. He'll move out of the way of the Red Bull. And that is Kevin Zunneberg, I think, who is actually improving. This is remarkable. This is eye-watering from Kevin Zunneberg. He's clattered into the wall. Will that lose him time? Yes, it will. He was on for an astounding lap there, but Kevin Zunneberg clatters into the wall, and that is all she wrote. Thiago in the Ferrari, also on a lap. Ticho in the other Scuderia, coming around turn 14, down towards the line we go, and it is a 1:14.8. And JR Ticho in the Ferrari is up to P3. I do not know where this is going to go. IRT Seeb is into P9. IRT Boom in the Racing Bull. IRT Brian Amers. IRT Even. IRT Nick. And IRT Esports must be very, very proud of these drivers. And here comes IRT Nick in the Racing Bull, and it's P7 and in front of Wessel in the Haas. Diogo Silva has invalidated it. Mattia Manga has also invalidated it. VNT Luca will finally get a lap on the board. Ben in the Alpine won't, though. He's back into the pit lane. So as we ride on board with the Kick Sauber in towards turn 13, around the right-hander, and there's no mistakes from here, surely not, for the Sauber driver. VNT Luca to the line we go. It's a 1:15.1 and it's P11. He has finally announced himself on the big stage. So, White Sheep in the Haas is nearly 2 temps up. This is going to be extremely close to the time of Kevin Zunneberg and TF10 Sam. Let's see what White Sheep can do. Was it slightly deep? I'm not sure. These drivers are on a whole different level. Down in towards turn 13. Around the final chicane. And then it is just a long straight. Has he saved enough battery to get that extra bit of pace? And it is White Sheep that takes provisional pole here in Albert Park. White Sheep did not sleep on that one. So IRT Nick is on an in lap, so is VNT Luca. Every other driver in the pit lane, barring the one that is yet to set a lap time. So Benjamin in the Alpine will be the first of the final runners. His teammate in P12, has he got enough fuel to go again? Remember, White Sheep is on pole position. Kevin Zunneberg in P2 in the Red Bull. But we will ride on board with Benjamin. Remember, Kevin Zunneberg did get a lap where he was 2 tenths up on his time, but then hit the wall at turn 14 at the final corner. But we're riding on board with Benjamin. He's kept it valid through that first apex, down in towards turn 3 at Whiteford. Kevin Zunneberg has got a 5-place grid penalty here in Melbourne for illegal blocking the man who is challenging for pole position. TF10 Sam has started his lap. He is slightly up here, Benjamin. Any sort of improvement will be vital, will be critical for your starting positions around the long left-hander and down towards turn 9 and 10 for the Alpine of Benjamin. He's half a tenth up. That will put him close to his teammate's time. Back onto the throttle. DRS enabled. Battery burning. It is all go here for Benjamin. In towards turn 11 at the right-hander. He gets that pretty neat and tidy. And then he's got a little bit of traffic in front of him. Is that an Aston Martin? And that was a lock-up, and that is it for Benjamin. He's not going to improve, and that Aston Martin might have just hindered the lap of Benjamin, and he will be highly frustrated. But one person who's not is TF10 Sam, who is a tenth of a second up, bidding to get pole position here in round 1. Let's see what the Kick Sauber driver can do. In towards turn 13 at the left-hander, around the final corner at turn 15, back onto the throttle. This is it for TF10 Sam. Is he going to take provisional pole? He's not. He's missed out, and it's P2, provisional front row at the moment, and F1 Snex takes P2, but then TF10 Lucas in the Williams. The German duo have arrived. TF10 Lucas has gone provisional pole with a 1:14.5. That is incredible. Mattia Manja has retired. White Sheep is not improving. He has invalidated it on his final run. The checkered flag has been waved. IRT Nick is not improving. Here comes Wessel in the Haas down towards the start finish line. He stays P10. VNC Luca is 3 tenths up. This is going to be a big jump up to P7 for the Sauber driver. IRT Nick is round. IRT Boom around turn 14. Down the pit straight we go. Where can the Racing Bull put it? He goes P13. That is it. TF10 Lucas takes pole here in round 1. My goodness, what a lap from the Williams. So TF10 Lucas takes pole position here in Australia. White Sheep takes P2 in the Haas. F1 Snex in P3. TF10 Sam in P4 and Ticho in P5. Kevin Zunneberg in P6 but with a 5-place grid penalty. Luca in P7. IRT Sieb in P8. On the 5th row of the grid, it's Thiago in the Ferrari in P9 and Brian Amers in P10. The rest of the grid, IRT Nick, Wessel, IRT Boom, IRT Ivan, Ben, Benjamin, Diogo Silva, C8 Lou, TRT Zane and Mattia Manga complete your 20 drivers for the season opener here in PSF2. So a big shout out to our sponsors at Sim Racing Setups. Remember, you can get the perfect race setup for F1, Assetto Corsa, iRacing, the lot. Just use code PSGL on checkout for a 5% discount and get your perfect race setup. Here we go for PSF2 for round 1 here in Australia, season 41. And it is lights out and away we go down towards turn 1. That is absolute carnage. It's a restart. Surely it's a restart, yeah. Not sure what is going on there. So, because of grid penalties, there is a restart, another restart, so just bear with us, and we are going to get into the race very shortly. We will eventually get there, guys, bear with us. So, stay tuned, because once them lights go out and the racing gets underway, we are in for an absolute treat. Sorry guys, I just muted that, so obviously we didn't get a copyright strike for the music. So we are going to go back into the race, and we're going to get going again for third time lucky. Right, here we go. So the drivers will just get their setups on, and then we should be good to go. So do not go anywhere, otherwise you will miss the best part of the race. So, the season opener, season 41, round 1, here in Australia. And it'll be very interesting in terms of the pace of the drivers and if they'll be able to get an overtake or if they'll be stuck in that DRS train. There's a lot to think about. I think strategies will play a huge part, a pivotal role in this Grand Prix. But that is all to come and all to be determined over the course of the next 45 minutes. So we need to see what drivers are starting on what tyres when we get going. We go again, Woods. We go again. All the drivers just getting their setups on, getting ready, working out the strategies. So here we go, this is it for PSF2, round 1. And it is lights out and away we go. Down in towards turn 1. White Sheep got a good start. He's up the inside of F1 Sneak. Down in towards turn 2 we go. It is the Haas driver that is in the race lead here in round 1. TF10 Sam is up 2 places. F1 Snex is down into P3, staying in position. JR Ticho in the Ferrari in P4. Kevin Dunneberg in P5. VNT Luca. That is Thiago and Seaman. That is Thiago in front of Seab. What an overtake that is. White Sheep leads to Lucas in P2 in the Williams. So as we head in towards turn 8, that DRS will not be enabled until the next lap. Is he going to go for the move? TF10 Lucas all over the back of White Sheep. You've got Ticho on the back of F1 Snex. And VNT Luca looking for a way through on Kevin Zunneberg. Wessel. Ivan is going for a move on the outside of Wessel. Here comes the papaya. Wessel cuts him off. Diogo Silva. That is Ben in the Alpine that's losing places. Down to P19 as Mattia Mandra in the Aston Martin goes through. And up to P18. He's now all over the rear diffuser of TRT Zane, who tries to hold on to position. But it is White Sheep at the end of lap 1 that leads the Australian Grand Prix. TF10 Lucas is there, so is Sam, Snex, Ticho and Kevin Zunneberg are your top 6. Brian Amos is on the back of his teammate of IRT Seed. So they all stay in position at the moment. Ben, does he have damage? He doesn't, but he is in between 2 Aston Martin drivers. White Sheep leads. Every single driver on the grid has started on the medium compound tyre. There is no alternative strategy here. So that DRS will be enabled. Here comes Lucas on White Sheep around the outside as to go in towards turn 9. It's Lucas who is now the race leader on lap 2. Was there any other movement on the grid? And that was a bit of a sketchy move there. So here comes Benjamin on Ivan. He's going to go for the late lunge on the inside. The Alpine driver with a Max Verstappen-esque move. And the Alpine hasn't completed it just yet, but he does have his nose ahead. And Benjamin picks up the pieces, says thank you very much. And then the Red Bull of Diogo Silva tries his luck on Ivan, but the door is closed pretty rapidly there. So Lucas, 3 temps clear of White Sheep. TF10 Sam just trying to stick with them. Then the German of Snex in P4, Ticho in P5, Kevin Zunneberg in the Red Bull, staying in position, just waiting, being patient. And VNT Luca, Tiago C, Brian Amos, IRT Nick, IRT Boom. Then you've got Wessel, Benjamin, Ivan, Diogo, Zane, Mattia Manja, Ben and Lou. All your top 20, all the drivers still in this Grand Prix, no damage whatsoever to anybody. This is a phenomenal start to this Grand Prix, what we wanted to see. Now, pronounced Snack, thank you very much, Wards, I did wonder about that. So, Lucas, White Sheep, Sam and Snack, all in the top 4. White Sheep will get that double dose of DRS, but he is not close enough. But Sam is in the Sauber. Melissa Van Emmerich says Ticho is the best. A bit of support in the chat for some of these incredible drivers. So White Sheep trying to stay with Lucas. Remember, he'll get that DRS again up the pit straight. Rear wing wide open. Every single driver locked in that DRS. But here comes Sam. He's got a little bit more speed, but he's not able to go for that lunge up the inside of turn 1. So Lucas in the Williams, still the race leader. Sam still looking for a way through, but not able to find it at the moment. On lap 4 of 29 here in Melbourne, Australia. And all the other drivers just coming through. The 2 Mercedes in P9 and P10 in comfortable positions. So that DRS will kick in again. Is White Sheep close enough to Lucas? We are about to find out, but I tell you who is. That is Sam in the Sauber. Are they going to go 3 wide? Here goes White Sheep around the outside of the Williams. And that is how you make an overtake through turn 9. And he'll get the DRS once again. Now here comes Snack on Sam. Slots back in behind him and Sam stays in front. But the battle of the front 2 continue as White Sheep regains the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix here in PSF2. Snack in P4, Ticho in P5. Kevin Zunneberg still there, watching on. All the drivers are just locked in position. They are zoned in at the moment. And we have seen 0 mistakes on this circuit. What I would say is that Snacks looks like he is taking care of his tyres a little bit more than what Lucas is. Oh, and that was a little slide from White Sheep. That might have hurt his tyres a little bit. And that is Sam that is through on Lucas. Sam in the Sauber makes the overtake work and sticks it into P2, but they have lost DRS to White Sheep. Is he going to be wide open from the double Williams attack behind? The Sauber tries to stay there. Here comes Lucas and Snack. He is burning that battery. Sam trying to get back within that DRS range and defend that position, and he has done it so well. That is Thiago, and that is Luca that's round. Luca in the Sauber is round at turn 10. He waits for the drivers to go through, and he is down to P20. That is Ivan on Sieb. Here comes the Red Bull of Diogo Silva that moves up to P14 and in front of that Mercedes of IRT Sieb. And now we are catching a bit of the action. Ivan picks up a 10-second time penalty. White Sheep is 1.2 seconds clear of TF10 Sam in that Sauber. The two Williams looking extremely strong. I did mention the tyres of Lucas, and he goes a lot later on the brakes, and you can tell why. His tyres are burning up slightly quicker than the rest. And that is Ben on Matteo Manga. He's going to go around the outside, maybe try and switch it back up the inside. Not able to get anywhere with that at the moment, unfortunately. So White Sheep is way clear. Here comes Sam. Here comes Lucas in the Williams. Lucas makes the move to the inside, down towards turn 9. What about Snack? Is he going to try his luck on the Sauber? Remember, he'll get that DRS. Luckily for Sam, he'll get that slipstream. Oh my goodness me. Snack, take your hat off. How have you just held on to that? Phenomenal stuff. This is what makes them the best of the best. Benjamin in the Alpine is through on Wessel, who's down to B12. But the other Alpine is down in P18. No help from his teammate thus far. Lucas is back within DRS range. He makes a mistake though on the exit of turn 14. And now TF10 Sam is going to be all over him like a rash down towards turn 1. So 1.4 is the gap to White Sheep. Snack is there. Brian Amos picking up a 3-second time penalty. This is what happens when the drivers race on the limits of the circuit. So we're on board with F1 Snack. Can Kevin Zunneberg come from anywhere? VNC Luca is out in the pit lane. Lou is still going to carry on and try and get something from this Grand Prix. So Lucas is 7 tenths clear of Sam at the moment. I think the gap is big enough, is it, to keep him ahead? I don't actually know. Here comes Sam with some lightning speed in towards turn 9, who takes P2 away from that Williams. And as all that is unfolding, here comes F1 Snacks on his teammate to move in front of Lucas. Team orders in the Williams garage. F1 Snack is up to P3 and Lucas down to P4. As that was unfolding, there was a little bit of movement behind as well. And I think it was Ivan getting past IRT Sieb. So White Sheep 1.5 clear, and as they continue to battle behind, this really does help out the Haas driver. So F1 Snack into the podium. He is chasing down the Sauber of TF10 Sam. So the German duo in the Williams looking very strong. We're on lap 8. It'll be interesting to see when these drivers pit. What I would say is I understand why TF10 Lucas has let F1 Snacks through. Looking at the tyres, 46% for Lucas and only 40% for Snack. So maybe they're thinking tactical. If my tyres are burning off, maybe let him through and just stick with him for now and get them further along. Here comes Nick on Tiogo. That is Sieb on Ivan, the two IRT drivers swapping it around, and that is F1 Snacks that is through. And Sam gets back through. And that was a little bit tasty out of turn 10. And Snacks is closing the gap. And I must say, the Williams is looking after them tyres tremendously well. So White Sheep is leading by 1.8. TF10 Sam in P2, F1 Snacks. There goes Kevin Zunneberg. He's going for the undercut into the pit lane on lap 9. An early stop from the Red Bull driver. But is the undercut going to work for him? White Sheep in the Haas leads by 2 seconds now. He's in a league of his own. F1 Snacks in the Williams, still chasing down TF10 Sam. This could be his opportunity when that DRS kicks in as they head in towards the marina at turn 6. Through the right-hander, through the left-hander. And he's still got half his battery. And then down towards turn 9 we go. He's got that DRS. Is he quick enough to try and make the move? He's not. And how are we all in the chat? Hope you're enjoying the race. And TF10 Sam gets a good exit out of turn 10. And once again, he's able to keep that Williams at bay behind. And Lucas is just sticking with him for the moment. Kevin Zunneberg has come into some nice, racy, clean air. And that's what he would have wanted. We know he's got the pace. We've seen it in qualifying. He could have potentially been on pole position had he not have crashed into the wall at turn 14. That is TF10 Sam and F1 Snacks that are both into the pit lane. They have gone for it. Lucas is now 3 seconds behind White Sheep, and I am very surprised to see Snacks in the pit lane before Lucas, but you've got track position. It means that you've got pit position as well, so he has took the opportunity to pit potentially on the same lap as Lucas might have wanted to pit as well. Where is Kevin Zunneberg? He's going to come out right side by side with F1 Snacks. The undercut is beautiful, and the Williams driver goes later on the brakes. The Red Bull is up the inside, side by side once more. They nearly touch around turn 4 in towards turn 5 we go. Still nothing to separate them, and the Red Bull of Kevin Zunneberg gets his elbows out and fights for that position, and he is now in front of the Williams driver. There goes Ben on Mattia Manga. And in towards turn 9, the Alpine is in front of the Aston Martin. Will we now see the other Williams driver slide into the pit lane? White Sheep can potentially stay out for an extra 1 or 2 laps with the gap that he had, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Lucas, surely, no, he stays out as well. Ticho shuffles off into the pit lane, and that means the other Ferrari has to stay out of Thiago. Brian Amers, IRT Boom, Ben, Vessel, all into the pit lane. Kevin Zunneberg is still within DRS range of TF10 Sam, but he has got the track position in front of F1 Snacks. So they've undercut a few drivers. Ticho comes out 1.7 behind. What about IRT Nick on Thiago? TRT Zane is through on Benjamin. The Racing Bull, and that is TRT Zane and IRT Boom that go at it. And the Racing Bull is just in front of the Alpine, but he has to settle in behind the McLaren. What about IRT Nick on Thiago? Goes up the inside of the Portuguese driver, and Nick is through in that Racing Bull. Down in towards turn 11 we go. The Racing Bull is into a provisional podium. There goes IRT Boom on Zane, and he makes it work once again. And he's showing that even he, when he's on form, can get that racing done. TF10 Lucas has picked up a 10-second time penalty, and that will cost him very dearly indeed. Lucas, one of my, if anybody knows me as a commentator, one of my pet hates is speeding into the pit lane. But at this level, every single millimetre counts. So Kevin Zunneberg, that is Ticho, that is through on Lucas, who has that 10-second time penalty. Brian Amers, there goes IRT Boom on Thiago, and here comes TRT Zane in the McLaren that goes wheel to wheel with the Ferrari. Now here comes Benjamin, he wants a piece of the action. Later on the brakes, lunges up the inside. The Ferrari can't do anything about it as the Alpine cuts him off, makes the move. And what about Wessel, who's just come out of the pit lane and right into a battle that he did not want to get involved in? I must say, way, Kevin Zunderberg has timed this pit stop beautifully because he did not have to battle anybody when he came out of the pit lane. So the undercut is on. It'll be interesting to see what White Sheep does now. He only had a 2-second gap. He now needs to get into the pit lane and potentially come out right in the midst of this battle. Let's see what happens with White Sheep. Down in towards the pit lane we go. The Haas driver, IRT Sieb, stays out. Ben in the Alpine also stays out. Mattia Manga stays out in the Aston Martin. Here comes White Sheep going onto them hard compound tyres. TF10 Sam is already coming down the pit lane. Where is White Sheep? He's on his way out, but he's going to be behind TF10 Sam and Kevin Zunderberg and Snacks. What about Ticho as well? He's going to come out just in front of Ticho. Here comes the Ferrari. And they do collide. Ticho on White Sheep, who's lost the position to Lucas as well. Ticho was coming so quickly, and White Sheep tried to stay in front, but it has cost him so much time. He was not letting go of that. He was like a dog with a bone there, Ticho. So, the overcut for White Sheep has been detrimental to his race, but he'll have to see what he can do come the end of the Grand Prix. And that is Lucas that is through on Ticho, IRT Nick that is through on IRT Brian Amers. IRT Boom is there as well. That is TF10 Sam through on Mattia Manga. And the Red Bull of Kevin Zunderberg will pick up the pieces next. Down in towards turn at 13. And the Aston Martin peels off into the pit lane. So does Ben and Sieb. And it is TF10 Sam that leads the Australian Grand Prix. Kevin Zunderberg in P2 and F1 Snacks in P3. Lucas in P4. White Sheep in P5, who is through on Ticho. So White Sheep is through on the Ferrari driver and on fresher tyres as well. So they are now getting back into formation. We are nearing the halfway point. Here comes Kevin Zunderberg. Will he go into the lead of the Grand Prix? He's right on the backside of the Sauber, and now here comes F1 Snacks. They're going to go 3 wide, and the Sauber does lag back in front, and Kevin Zunderberg will not take the lead. The Sauber driver is back in front, but he's off the track. TF10 Sam is off the track from the lead of this Grand Prix. He's not off the track, he's back in front. What the is going on here? So TF10 Sam with some back to the future kind of stuff, but he is back to the lead for sure. So Kevin Zunderberg did take the lead momentarily, but that makes it 5 different race leaders so far in this Grand Prix. So the Red Bull of Kevin Zunderberg in P2. And we will keep an eye on the tyres. So we've had no VSCs, no safety cars as of yet. It's been a really clean Grand Prix, really racy as well. So White Sheep in the Haas, chasing down Lucas. Ticho trying to stay with him. Remember, White Sheep was leading the Grand Prix before the pit stops. He stayed out for an extra couple of laps. He's got the freshest tyres on the grid, but is it going to do him more harm than good staying out? We will find out come the end of the race. So he is within that DRS range. Remember, TF10 Lucas has got a 10-second time penalty, so the Haas driver does not need to worry about him at all. Down in towards turn 1. And F1 Snacks is bridging that gap to Kevin Zunneberg. And the Williams, only 4 tenths is the difference. What about Thiago on Benjamin? So back on with Kevin Zunneberg and F1 Snacks. And here comes the Williams driver. He is closing, but he is not going to be close enough. And that is Benjamin that is front. TRT Zane loses a position to Thiago in the Ferrari as well. It's a double overtake on the McLaren, who's now going to have no DRS. To Wessel behind, who maybe has an opportunity to move up a position. He does go for that late lunge right on the inside. Goes Wessel on TRT Zane. Benjamin and Thiago are going at it as well. The Alpine is in front as they drift around turn 12 in towards turn 13. But it is Benjamin that is in front and into P10. Thiago in P11. TRT Zane is there, and Wessel, who went for that late lunge and it did not pay off. So Brian Amers picks up a 3-second time penalty. Here comes F1 Snacks. He looks like he's got a lot more straight line speed than the Red Bull at the moment. Through the left-hander. So around turn 8. And can F1 Snacks eat up Kevin Zunneberg's lead? Here we go. He's eyeing him up like a snack. And that is Thiago on Benjamin. The Ferrari driver is back through on the Alpine. And look at this, now they are closing up to the race leader with 12 laps remaining. White Sheep on the back of Lucas. Snacks on Kevin Zunneberg. TF10 Sam in the lead. Here comes IRT Nick on Ticho. Goes up the inside. There's a slight bit of contact around turn 14. He's all over the rear diffuser of that Scuderia in front. They've both got DRS. He'll use that battery. He'll use that slipstream. The Ferrari weaves to defend and stays ahead. What about White Sheep on Lucas? He's looking for a way through. Is this his opportunity to make amends for that pit stop? It's not. He is going to try again, and he is all over the place. It is getting sketchy out there now. The drivers are on ice skates at the moment. So TF10 Sam still leading on lap 18. C8 Lou into the pit lane. Wessel picks up a 3-second time penalty. Here comes F1 Snacks. And he was looking around the outside, then back on the inside. Here comes Ticho, and he made a move on White Sheep. And you've seen him try and correct that Ferrari. And now IRT Nick might see an opening. But the Ferrari just covers him off. And the Racing Bull will have to just stay where he is at this moment in time. And you can see them all coming around the final couple of corners. They are so closely bunched. Remember, Kevin Zunneberg did pit earlier. So TF10 Sam is Kevin Zunneberg close enough? He will have that DRS, but the gap is 5 tenths. I'm not sure that will be enough to make the move, and I think Kevin Zunneberg will be happy where he is at the moment. He's not too hasty to make the move. He's looking after them tyres. There's still 10 laps to go, and that is IRT Sebon, Diogo Silva, and the Red Bull driver moves down into P15. And IRT Nick on Titcho. The Racing Bull goes up the inside of the Scuderia. Can the Ferrari driver get his foot down? There's a little snap of oversteer from the Racing Bull, and he is in front, and move done from IRT Nick. Titcho down to P7, and now he has the other Racing Bull of IRT Boom on his tail, but Titcho is right involved in the action at the moment. Ivan picks up a time penalty. There's the tyres. So here comes White Sheep on Lucas. Lucas went wide. This is White Sheep's opportunity. He's trying to hold on. They do lock wheels to the right-hander. They do touch again, and Lucas nearly into the wall. White Sheep is in front. Will he have that DRS? And that is IRT Nick that is also through on Lucas. Remember, Lucas also has a 10-second time penalty, but he's going to come back at him. He's going to burn that battery, that Duracell battery, to stay in front. And the Williams is back in to P5. The Ferrari of Titcho is there. And White Sheep now up to P4 on the freshest tyres. Benjamin in the Alpine on the back of Thiago. As we now head on to lap 21, the Ferrari goes deep of Thiago, and he just managed to save it. He managed to get that car to a stop. And look at F1 Snacks into turn 1. And is Kevin Zunneberg starting to feel the heat on them older tyres? Here comes the Williams. He's going to go for that late lunge. He does, and he does tag the inside of White Sheep. And the Haas driver managing to stay ahead. Lucas, Nick, Titcho, Boom, Brian Amos, Thiago. TRT's aim through on Vessel. But TF10 Sam is probably thinking to himself, I'm in a comfortable position here. I don't know how I've got here, but I just need to keep it steady. And that is Vessel through on TRT's aim. But here comes White Sheep on F1 Snacks. The Williams driver does defend, and the Haas driver will go for that lunge up the inside again. And the Williams is behind and in front, and he's in a double Williams battle. Not only is he trying to get through, he's also defending against Lucas, who will obviously do his best to help his teammate. So White Sheep will know. He knows that there's only 7 laps to go. He's got the freshest tyres on the grid. He needs to start thinking of what he can do, because the drivers in front will start to feel the effects of the older tyres. Every time they come out of the corners, White Sheep gets that better exit. Is he going to go up the inside? He is. And the Haas driver will move back into the podium places. What an overtake from White Sheep in the Haas. Brian Amos is through on Thiago. Only momentarily though, as he comes back at him in the Ferrari of Thiago, back in front of the Mercedes, and Brian Amos has to comfortably slot into P10. Here comes IRTC in the other Mercedes, trying to look for a way through on Benjamin in the Alpine. He's got his teammate just in front. Can it be a Mercedes 10-11? Here comes IRTC down in towards turn 8 and 9. And Sieb does get through, and now he'll cover the inside line so that the Alpine driver has to go the longer way round. And that's exactly what he does. Very good racing. The IQ is incredible. Titcho in the Ferrari in P7. So Kevin Zunneberg, we are going on to lap 23. So Kevin Zunneberg in P2, Sam in the lead. What about IRTC? That is through on his teammate of Brian Amos. Was that a tactical switch from the Mercedes duo? Titcho still having a good race in P7, and with the penalty of Lucas, he'll move up to P6. I mean, I think most of the grid will move up to a position. I think Lucas could end up finishing P16 or 17 here. So we know that the Haas has the freshest tyres on the grid. Is he going to be able to use them? We will find out shortly. He does look a lot quicker through the corners than the Red Bull does. But the laps go so quickly here in Albert Park, and that is Ticho and Nick going at it again. The Racing Bull and the Ferrari, wheel to wheel, side by side they go. The Ferrari driver has to go in the inside, and the Racing Bull is off the track. His teammate just slows down, but then Thiago says, not for me, I'm not. Gets back onto the throw, and boom, just covers off his teammate. Here comes IRTC in the Mercedes, maybe pick up 2 positions for the fun of it. The Mercedes driver down in towards turn 1 will go up the inside of Thiago. He does try to make the move, but cannot make it work. Brian Amos is now on the rear diffuser of his teammate. So back to the leaders we go. So 5.5 laps remaining here in round 1 for PSF2, and White Sheep is getting ever so closer to Kevin Zunneberg. And the more and more laps that we proceed to take, and that is IRT Boom that is throwing his teammate of Nick, and there goes Thiago as well, trying his luck, but he's onto the gravel, and Sieb picking up the pieces as the Ferrari goes off the track. Vessel goes through on IRT Brian Amers. The Mercedes driver up the inside of turn 13. The Haas driver leaves the space, and nicely done from Vessel there. Here comes Ben in the Alpine. Mattia Manga moves up a position. The Mercedes goes later on the brakes and makes it work. Great stuff. So Diogo Silva back into the pit lane. His teammate in P2. And he's holding on for dear life. Them hard compound tyres are roughly 55 to 60% at the moment. So around turn 8, and that is Ben on Brian Amers. What about IRT Nick on Boom? He'll move up the inside. Remember, one of the Racing Bulls doesn't have DRS, and it's whichever one's in front. That's TRT Zane in the Papaya McLaren that is through on the Mercedes AMG Petronas. And IRTC goes up the inside of IRT Boom. And the Racing Bull getting very racy here. So White Sheep, it's now or never, really. He's got to do something to get through, because that overcut was not the strategy call for him. If he gets past Kevin Zunneberg, I think he's on for the Grand Prix victory. But it's not as easy and as simple as just passing that Red Bull. We've seen Kevin Zunneberg on the grid. We know how good he is. His defensive driving is some of the best you will witness on any Grand Prix track. Brian Amers on TRT Zane. They will have DRS, but we are going to concentrate on the leaders. We're on lap 26 of 29. And it is Sam in the Sauber that leads to the Red Bull, to the Haas, to the Williams. Remember, Lucas with a 10-second time penalty. So the Sauber 4 tenths clear. Is he saving that battery? Absolutely he is. White Sheep is burning a lot of his, though. That is Brian Amers on TRT Zane into turn 12. Sorry. Turn 11 in towards turn 12 now, and then down in towards the left-hander at turn 13. Well, Brian Amers is in front of the McLaren. Here comes White Sheep. He's closer than he's ever been on lap 27 in towards turn 1. He's going to be so much more comfortable, but he has that snap of oversteer again, and that's cost him an opportunity of that overtake. So TF10 Sam in the Sauber, still leading, and Kevin Zunneberg might be biding his time. White Sheep using a lot of his battery, whereas in Sam and Kevin are not using any. I can only think that White Sheep probably should have pitted. It's alright looking back in hindsight, but should he have pitted when the other drivers did? Here comes TRT Zane. I do think he stayed out one lap too much when he went round again. So just over 2 laps to go here in PSF2. And remember, if you want to race like a pro, you need the right setups. Sim Racing Setups, use code PSGL on checkout. So Kevin Zunneberg in the Red Bull. This is it, the penultimate lap. And here comes F1 Snacks. This was not in White Sheep's story. He's going to go around the outside, but White Sheep's able to hold him off as Snacks just slides through there. Lucas, Ticho and Nick all chasing him down. TRT Zane and Brian Amers going at it again. Is Kevin Zunneberg waiting for a master plan on the final lap? That is Ivan to the back of the grid. Brian Amers being overtaken by TRT Zane, but he might get it back, and there goes Lucas on F1 Snacks. Remember, Lucas has a 10-second time penalty. I'm starting to think this might be a plan for the Williams drivers. IRTC will go the long way round on IRT Boom, but he's onto the gravel. He went too wide. And back in front, and now here comes Thiago. And he went for the optimistic overtake. It didn't pay off, and the Ferrari gained a position. And now IRTC, with desperation, tries to get that position back and into the wall at turn 14. Now here comes Benjamin in the Alpine. Thiago is in front with the DRS enabled. We are on to the final lap here at Albert Park for the Melbourne Grand Prix in Australia. TF10 Sam is your race leader. Kevin Zunneberg in P2. White Sheep in P3. White Sheep, who was leading this Grand Prix up until the pit stops. The two Alpine drivers swapping places. Benjamin in front of Ben. So this is it, Kevin Zunneberg's only and final opportunity. This is where he's got to burn the battery. This is where he's got to open the rear wing. Has he saved it enough? Here we go. Kevin Zunneberg for the race lead on TF10 Sam. He's coming. He's coming. He's absolutely flying. TF10 Sam is emptying that battery tank. Here comes Kevin Zunneberg. He'll get one more opportunity, and the Red Bull driver doesn't get the exit that TF10 Sam does, and the Sauber driver has held on for the race victory surely from here. The Sauber in the lead. A perfect strategy, a perfect race, absolutely flawless from Sam, and he's going to come home here in round 1. But for PSF2, TF10 Sam wins the opener here in PSGL. Kevin Zunneberg takes P2, and White Sheep is on the podium in P3. F1 Snacks takes P4, Ticho in P5, Nick takes P6, Thiago in P7, Seb in P8, the two Alpines of Benjamin and Bex in P10. Wow! It's doing that thing where it doesn't show you the grid, I think. There we go. On the top step is Sam in the Sauber. And he wins the opener. I think White Sheep will be really disappointed. So let's go through the final grid order. There's most overtakes, cleanest driver, race winner and fastest lap. So TF10 Sam wins the Australian Grand Prix. Kevin Zunneberg takes P2. White Sheep in P3 on the podium. It's F1 Snacks in P4 and Titcho in P5. IRT Nick in P6. It is Thiago in P7. Sieb in P8 and Benjamin in the Alpine in P9. Ben in the other Alpine in P10, IRT Boom in P11, Mattia Manga in P12, Vessel in P13, TRTZ in P14, Lucas P15, Diogo Silva in P16, Brian Amers in P17, C8 Lou in P18, Ivan in P19 and Luca in P20. Ivan picking up the fastest lap. What a race, guys. What an opener. That is how we open here in PSGL PSF2. That is what it's all about. Well done to all the drivers. Thank you all so much for tuning in and being here with me whilst I commentate on this spectacular race and these phenomenal drivers. Thank you to PSGL for having me. Have a great week, everybody, and I will see you on the next one.